Bible in a Year, Day 199. Readings from the Holy Bible, Isaiah chapters 16 and 17, Joel chapters 2 and 3. Isaiah chapter 16. Send them forth, hugging the earth like reptiles, from Selah across the desert to the mount of daughter Zion, like flushed birds, like scattered nestlings, are the daughters of Moab at the fords of the Arnon. Of a council take their part, at high noon make your shade like the night, hide the outcasts, do not betray the fugitives, let the outcasts of Moab live with you. Be their shelter from the destroyer, when there is an end to the oppressor, when destruction has ceased, and the marauders have vanished from the land. A throne shall be set up in mercy, and on it shall sit in fidelity in David's tent, a judge upholding right, prompt to do justice. We have heard of the pride of Moab, how very proud he is, of his haughtiness, pride, and arrogance, that his empty words do not match. Therefore let Moab wail, let everyone wail for Moab, for the raisin cakes of Kir Hareseth. Let them sigh, stricken with grief. The terrace slopes of Heshbon languish, the vines of Sibmah, whose clusters once overpowered the lords of nations, reaching as far as Jazer, winding through the wilderness, whose branches spread forth, crossing over the sea. Therefore I weep with Jazer for the vines of Sibmah. I drench you with my tears, Heshbon and Elealeh. For on your summer fruits and harvest the battle cry has fallen. From the orchards are taken away joy and gladness. In the vineyards there is no singing, no shout of joy. In the wine presses no one treads grapes. The vintage shout is stilled. Therefore for Moab my heart mourns like a lyre, my inmost being for Kir Hareseth. When Moab wears himself out on the high places and enters his sanctuary to pray, it shall avail him nothing. That is the word the Lord spoke against Moab in times past. But now the Lord speaks. In 3 years, like the years of a hired laborer, the glory of Moab shall be empty despite all its great multitude, and the remnant shall be very small and weak. Chapter 17. Damascus. Oracle on Damascus. See, Damascus shall cease to be a city and become a pile of ruins. Her city shall be forever abandoned for flocks to lie in undisturbed. The fortress shall vanish from Ephraim and dominion from Damascus. The remnant of Aram shall become like the glory of the Israelites, oracle of the Lord of hosts. On that day the glory of Jacob shall fade, and his full body shall grow thin, like the reaper's mere armful of stalks when he gathers the standing grain, or as when one gleans the ears in the valley of Rephaim. Only gleanings shall be left in it, as when an olive tree has been beaten. 2 or 3 olives at the very top, 4 or 5 on its most fruitful branches, oracle of the Lord, the God of Israel. On that day people shall turn to their Maker, their eyes shall look to the Holy One of Israel. They shall not turn to the altars, the work of their hands, nor shall they look to what their fingers have made, the Asherahs or on the incense stands. On that day his strong city shall be like those abandoned by the Hittites and the Amorites when faced with the Israelites, and there shall be desolation. Truly you have forgotten the God who saves you, the rock your refuge you have not remembered. Therefore, though you plant plants for the pleasant one and set out cuttings for a foreign one, though you make them grow the day you plant them and make them blossom the morning you set them out, the harvest shall disappear on a day of sickness and incurable pain. Ah, the roaring of many peoples, a roar like the roar of the seas, the thundering of nations, thunder like the thundering of mighty waters. But God shall rebuke them, and they shall flee far away, driven like chaff on the mountains before a wind, like tumbleweed before a storm. At evening there is terror, but before morning they are gone. Such is the portion of those who despoil us, the lot of those who plunder us. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Joel chapter 2. The day approaches. Blow the horn in Zion, sound the alarm on my holy mountain. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble, for the day of the Lord is coming. Yes, it approaches. A day of darkness and gloom, a day of thick clouds, like dawn spreading over the mountains. A vast and mighty army. Nothing like it has ever happened in ages past, nor will the future hold anything like it, even to the most distant generations. Before it, fire devours, behind it, flame scorches. The land before it is like the Garden of Eden, and behind it a desolate wilderness. From it nothing escapes. Their appearance is that of horses, like war horses they run. Like the rumble of chariots, they hurtle across mountain tops, like the crackling of fiery flames, devouring stubble like a massive army in battle formation. Before them, peoples tremble, every face turns pale. Like warriors, they run, like soldiers, they scale walls, each advancing in line without swerving from the course. No one crowds the other, each advances in its own track. They plunge through the weapons, they are not checked. They charge the city, they run upon the wall, they climb into the houses. Through the windows they enter like thieves. Before them the earth trembles, the heavens shake. Sun and moon are darkened, and the stars withhold their brightness. The Lord raises his voice at the head of his army. How immense is his host, how numerous those who carry out his command. How great is the day of the Lord, utterly terrifying. Who can survive it? Return to the Lord. Yet even now, oracle of the Lord, return to me with your whole heart, with fasting, weeping, and mourning. Rend your hearts, not your garments, and return to the Lord your God, for he is gracious and merciful, slow to anger, abounding in steadfast love, and relenting in punishment. Perhaps he will again relent and leave behind a blessing, grain offering, and libation for the Lord your God. Blow the horn in Zion, proclaim a fast, call an assembly. Gather the people, sanctify the congregation, assemble the elderly, gather the children, even infants nursing at the breast. Let the bridegroom leave his room and the bride her bridal tent. Between the porch and the altar, let the priests weep. Let the ministers of the Lord weep and say, spare your people, Lord. Do not let your heritage become a disgrace, a byword among the nations. Why should they say among the peoples, where is their God? The Lord relents. Then the Lord grew jealous for his land and took pity on his people. In response, the Lord said to his people, I am sending you grain, new wine, and oil, and you will be satisfied by them. Never again will I make you a disgrace among the nations. The northerner I will remove far from you, driving them out into a dry and desolate land, their vanguard to the eastern sea, their rear guard to the western sea. And their stench will rise, their stink will ascend. What great deeds the Lord has done! Do not fear, O land, delight and rejoice, for the Lord has done great things. Do not fear, you animals in the wild, for the wilderness pastures sprout green grass, the trees bear fruit, the fig tree and the vine produce their harvest. Children of Zion, delight and rejoice in the Lord your God, for he has faithfully given you the early rain, sending rain down on you, the early and the late rains as before. The threshing floors will be full of grain, the vats spilling over with new wine and oil. I will repay you double what the swarming locust has eaten, the hopper, the consuming locust, and the cutter, my great army I sent against you. You will eat until you are fully satisfied, then you will praise the name of the Lord your God, who acts so wondrously on your behalf. My people will never again be put to shame. Then you will know that I am in the midst of Israel. I, the Lord, am your God, and there is no other. My people will never again be put to shame. Joel chapter 3. The day of the Lord, it shall come to pass, I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh. Your sons and your daughters will prophesy, your old men will dream dreams, your young men will see visions. Even upon your male and female servants in those days I will pour out my spirit. I will set signs in the heavens and on the earth, blood, fire, and columns of smoke. The sun will darken, the moon turn blood red before the day of the Lord arrives, that great and terrible day. Then everyone who calls upon the name of the Lord will escape harm, for on Mount Zion there will be a remnant, as the Lord has said, and in Jerusalem survivors, whom the Lord will summon. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God.